Hi, I'm Megan, and welcome to STEM Expo at the DCM. This year will look a little different from past years because this year we'll be having our STEM Expo virtually. And this year we are also excited to highlight Black scientists along with our activities in celebration of Black History Month. Today we'll be featuring Neil deGrasse Tyson and doing a project about stars. Neil deGrasse Tyson, born October 5, 1958 in New York City, is an astrophysicist, a scientist who studies how the universe works, including the sun, moon, stars, planets, galaxies, and more. Since 1996, he has been the Frederick P. Rose Director of the Hayden Planetarium at the Rose Center for Earth and Space in New York City. And in fact, this same planetarium is where he first became interested in astronomy at age 9. He says of that visit, "So strong was the imprint of the night sky that I'm certain that I had no choice in the matter, that in fact, the universe called me." He's also an author and the host of multiple TV shows about the universe. The U.S. National Academy of Sciences awarded Tyson the Public Welfare Medal in 2015 for his extraordinary role in exciting the public about the wonders of science. Do you like looking up at the stars at night? Maybe you can even recognize a few of them. Today we're going to talk a little bit about constellations and what they are before we begin our project. So constellations are groups of stars. The constellations that you can see at night depend on your location on Earth and the time of year. Many constellations were named after objects, animals, and people long ago. But different cultures and locations have different stories about the constellations and different names sometimes as well. For example, the star that in the United States and Canada, or the stars that are known as the Big Dipper in the United States and Canada, are known as the Plough in the United Kingdom and Ireland. Astronomers today still use constellations to name stars and meteor showers, and scientists currently recognize 88 different constellations. On star maps, stars are represented by dots or circles, and then the constellation is connected by lines. Of course, those lines aren't really there in the actual sky, but it helps us to understand them a little bit better. Most star maps use different sizes of dots to show the brightness of stars. The larger dots are the very brightest ones. Today we're going to explore 4 different ways to make models of constellations. Let me show you the materials I have prepared on my tray. First of all, I have pictures of some different constellations. Now you can find these in a book. You can find these online. As you learn more about the constellations, you might look up some of your favorites and decide to make them, but it's helpful to have a picture that you can follow as you build your model. Of course, part of the fun is designing your own constellation, so you could do that too and make up a story for it. I also have some beads, some black paper, some stickers, a ruler, a flashlight, scissors, and I'm also going to need a pipe cleaner. And a couple more things that weren't on my tray that I'll use include mini marshmallows and pretzel sticks. The first constellation we're going to make today is Cassiopeia. If you live in the northern hemisphere, Cassiopeia can be seen all year round in the night sky. This constellation is named after a queen from Greek mythology. So the materials that I'm going to use to make this first constellation are 1 pipe cleaner and 1 bead for each of the main stars in this constellation. So I'm also going to pay attention to the connecting lines. Learning about constellations is a little like playing connect the dots. So I'm going to start over on this end. I'm going to take 1 bead, wrap the pipe cleaner all the way around it, and tuck it back in to the hole. and pull it to the edge, okay? And now you might notice this shape is a little bit like a crooked letter W. So now I'm going to bend my pipe cleaner and put on the next star. And in a constellation, in each of the 88 constellations, each star has its own name. For example, the 5 brightest stars in Cassiopeia are named after 5 letters of the Greek alphabet: alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and epsilon. So you notice I've added my next bead. Now I can bend the pipe cleaner up a bit to come to the next star. And I'll start at this end and slide my bead on. And again, wrap and poke back through and pull tight. And if you discover that you've gotten to the end of your pipe cleaner and you need more room, you can always loosen your pipe cleaner nuts a little bit to move your beads around, or you can twist 2 pipe cleaners together to make it make it longer, and then trim off any excess. All right, so my next star, these ones are pretty close together, so I'll leave just a little space. Wrap around, tuck back in, and compare. And last one will be up at the top here. One more time, slide the bead on, wrap the pipe cleaner around, and tuck it in, and slide it. And here we have the constellation Cassiopeia, made out of beads and pipe cleaners. Next, we're going to make the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is actually part of the constellation called Ursa Major, or Big Bear. When these 7 bright stars are connected, they look a bit like a ladle or a dipper that you might use to scoop up liquid. Again, looking from the northern hemisphere, you can see the Big Dipper in the night sky all year round. To make this constellation, I'm going to use a ruler or a straight edge to help me connect my star dots. I have a black piece of construction paper, and I have a white colored pencil and a white crayon. You can use either one. And then I have 7 star stickers so that I can use one for each of these bright stars. Now you can also use any other kind of sticker that you have, or you could even draw white dots or stars on your paper. I'm going to start by labeling my paper. When I was working on the pipe cleaner star, I didn't have anything to write on. Okay, so we'll call that Big Dipper. And then I'm going to start by drawing my lines. So we'll start with the handle of the dipper. Okay, I had to turn that around a little bit. Scoot my stars over. Okay, and then I'll come down. Say about that's probably good. And then I'll start drawing the ladle part, or the bowl. Okay, there. Then straight down, and a corner there. Come along the bottom. Just like that. Now I get to put my stars in. So I'll put my first one up here at the top. And my next one at the bend of the handle. And then I'd say we're about halfway down the straight edge for our next star. And then we get to the bowl. There's the one. We've got then the top. And these last two are called Merak. I'll just put that one on. And Duba. And the cool thing about these two is that they are known as the pointers because they always point to the North Star or Polaris. Since ancient times, people have used stars to navigate, and the North Star is one of the most important stars for navigation or finding your way. So looking up at the night sky, if you can find the Big Dipper and find these two pointer stars and draw a line, they'll point you straight to the North Star. Turn those back around. And we have the Big Dipper. For the next constellation, Orion, I've already done a little bit of work beforehand so that I can show you something cool in just a moment. Just like the Big Dipper, I used my ruler and a pencil to draw the lines of the constellation. But this time, where the stars belong, I took my pencil and poked a hole for each star. And I'll show you why I did that in a moment. Orion is known as the hunter in Greek mythology, and so Orion has a bow here, but the most prominent stars in this constellation are probably what's known as Orion's belt, these three right in the middle. You may have heard of the star Betelgeuse. Well, that's part of this constellation as well. Betelgeuse can be found on Orion's shoulder, and it is the largest star in this constellation and has a radius 1,000 times that of our sun. Orion is a winter constellation, so it can be seen from late autumn to early spring in the northern hemisphere. So now I'm in a dark room and I'm shining my flashlight at the constellation that I made, and you can see the light coming through the holes onto the wall as if they were stars. Now, you might notice that I poked a lot more holes in my drawing than you can actually see here on the wall, which is a little bit, I didn't do that on purpose, but it's a little bit like in the night sky. It would be very hard to see all the all the stars in Orion. Some of them will be brighter, like the three right next to each other, which is Orion's belt. But just like in the night sky, some stars will be brighter and some stars will be much dimmer. So I'm going to try poking the holes a little bit more with my pencil, and then we'll shine the light through again and see if we can see more of this constellation. Now I've made my holes a little bit wider, and you can see more of the stars that make up the Orion constellation. Well, all this constellation learning has helped me work up a little appetite, so I thought it might be fun to make a constellation out of things you can eat. So this time I have my picture, and we're going to make the constellation Libra. And for stars, I'll use mini marshmallows, and for the connecting lines, I'll use pretzels. Now you can break your pretzels if you need some to be shorter and some to be longer. And I'm going to start here, poke my marshmallow in, one here at the top. Now Libra doesn't have as bright of stars as some of the other constellations that we've talked about. So they're smaller and a little bit dimmer. They might be a little bit harder to see. And in the Northern Hemisphere, Libra is a summer constellation, so you can see it between April and July. Let's see, I'm going to tilt that one up a little bit. Break off a little piece there. Stick that in and add one more star. And something cool about Libra is that the Latin word for scales, as in balance scales, is Libra. And so this is one of the few ancient constellations that represents an inanimate object, so something that isn't a person or an animal. Snack time! Delicious! Thanks so much for joining us for STEM Expo. Bye!